Welcome back for another video. The Expert Series is back for the 24-25 season. If you're new around here, every game week I send questions out to about 200 top managers who they're buying, selling, a captain in, etc. And then I collate all the answers to make these short videos. This is a pre-season edition to see where they're all at right now with their teams. And as it stands, this season the experts have got a combined rank history of 4 top 100 finishes in the world, 42 top 1k finishes, and 331 top 10k finishes. So it's incredibly valuable data. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out this season. And thank you for watching. I've agreed to put the video revenue on this one towards their mini league prize to thank them for getting involved. Let's get into it. So a slightly different format ahead of Gameweek 1, since we don't have the manager of the week or the transfers made before the season kicks off. We're going to break down their most owned players. There's over 1,000 players in their responses, and let's start with the keepers. The template keeper in their teams is Sanchez. He has got the potential to be a gem for 4.5 mil, and at the time of recording he's not the guaranteed number 1 but has a strong chance. Chelsea are rumoured to have made inquiries for another keeper, but there's no harm in drafting him till they sign another keeper, if at all. Petrovic hasn't travelled on Chelsea's pre-season tour of injury. 21% of the experts are looking towards Flecken as their number 1 keeper. Brentford's fixtures are a bit more of a mixed bag, but he's the undisputed number 1. He's got Palace home in Gameweek 1, but he's away to Liverpool, City and then Spurs in their opening 5 game weeks. One benefit of Flecken is there's Valdemarsson, who's the guaranteed formal backup currently. So on the unlikely chance that Flecken gets injured, you've got a guaranteed keeper still. Whereas with Sanchez and someone like Fabianski, it leaves you slightly more exposed. However, keeper injuries are obviously very rare and it's perfectly fine to take the chance. The next 4.5 mil keeper is Henderson, who is believed to be number 1 still, having gotten a run of games at the end of last season where he and Palace were solid. From the point of Glasner taking charge, they were 4th best for expected goals conceded in the league after Arsenal, City and Liverpool. Really impressive numbers. All the data tables I use for videos like these are public in the Scout members area. Click the link below to become a member. So let's compare the opening fixtures of the favourite 4.5 mil keepers then. So it's Flecken, Verbruggen, Sanchez and Henderson. Sorted by difficulty on defence only has Palace first, and then it's Chelsea, then Brighton, then Brentford. I should also add though, Verbruggen's reportedly injured and he could miss the start of the season. Still starting goal for Brighton in their first pre-season game. It's all about the combinations in FPL though. Chelsea with 4.5 mil keeper, but there's no safe 4.5 mil defender. Brentford's 4.5 mil defenders all did poorly last season. Collins with 84 points was the top scorer. Meanwhile, Anderson for Palace notched 121 points and he's 4.5 mil. And then at Brighton there's Dunk who's 4.5 mil. Hence a combination like Sanchez and Anderson and or Dunk looks more balanced. Doubling up on defence from these teams like Henderson and Anderson is a bit overkill in my eyes. Arsenal, City and Liverpool would be the 3 I'd feel more comfortable doubling up on. On that note, Raya is 10% owned, coming in at 5.5 mil this season. Top keeper last season for points per match with 4.2, excluding those keepers that had limited minutes. Arsenal were comfortably top for expected goals conceded as well, with 28.4 XGC last season. 18 clean sheets was top as well. And while a lot of us are dissecting all the 4.5 mil keepers, Raya's right there as the possible solution if you can find the extra 1 mil. Arsenal don't have the best opening run of games, however it's generally bad practice to chop and change the keeper slot, as transfers are valuable and keepers tend to score the lowest of all positions. Therefore a keeper should be a very long term purchase, and Raya ticks that box. Let us know in the comments which keeper you're on currently. Let's move on to defenders. So here's how it's looking. Vardy's the most owned defender with 67% ownership. He's in 2/3 of experts teams. He had an explosive end to last season. He was playing very advanced and shooting more frequently than before. The left graphic here showing his 4 goals and 2 assists in the final 6 game weeks, and the right showing his average position by game week. 40% have picked Trent as their premium defender. The question is, how many have gone big at the back with both? 39% of experts have got both Vardy and Trent. Constance emerged as their favourite of the 4.5 mil defenders. Make no mistake, he is a low ceiling player, but he's a reliable 4.5 mil route into a decent defence. They look much better at the back with Constant right back over Cash. A bunch of 4 mil defenders sprinkled on here. We've got Howard Bellis 45%, Fast 33% and Barco 16%. Barco's got the potential to be the most exciting in Estupinan's absence and left wing back, but it's nailed as a bit of a question mark still. Pete from fpl.team and Baker from the Above Average podcast did a great piece of analysis on how bonus points would have differed last season had the new BPS rules been in place. I did a calculation myself on how much BPS players would have gained over the season, but they took it a step further and calculated how all 760 Premier League matches would have looked. So defenders get negative BPS for each goal conceded now, and unsurprisingly the biggest bonus point losers were the keepers and defenders. Even Trent would have scored 5 fewer points, Porro would have scored 10 fewer points. Spurs conceded a lot last season. It's not surprising to see Porro and Romero both among those losing points. Then there's BPS for each shot on target and fouls won now, so it's also not surprising to see the biggest winners entirely mids and forwards. Havertz, the biggest beneficiary, who would have scored an extra 12 points last season, putting him on 192 points. He seems to be a sleeper pick, only 14% owned right now. However, he has been reclassified as a forward, so in his case it's actually a net loss in points if you take off the 1 point per goal, of which he scored 13, and 16 clean sheet points, which he can't get now. In my opinion, still a top pick for 8 mil though. On to the most owned midfielders then, and Salah comes in with a huge 90% ownership. It's surprisingly high. I thought it'd be high, but not that high. And what leaps out is the difference against his overall ownership. Currently Salah's 33.4% owned and Haaland 33.1% owned. They're completely split among the 2 or so million managers signed up so far. I can't wait to see how the final ownership percentages look as we near Gameweek 1. So it's Eze next, 74% owned, followed by Gordon, Nkunku and Rodgers. Maresco came out with an encouraging quote on Nkunku this morning. He said he can play anywhere, and he's already taken the way that he wants to play, and this type of player he can play in the wing, attacking midfield or as a 9. The question is Rodgers a trap for 5 mil? He's certainly a possible gem. He got a run of starts with Villa after he was signed in the January window and he did well, and he's got 3 goals in 2 pre-season games. However, both of those were low quality opponents with the greatest respect. They play against RB Leipzig, Athletic Bilbao and Dortmund later in pre-season, which could make or break him as an option. I think he's perfectly fine to pick as a 5th mid, but he's not someone you want to count on starting every week. So Palmer comes in with 25% ownership, and Foden's 18% ownership surprised me for 9.5 mil, and De Bruyne appeared in only one team for the same price as Foden. Another extremely low owned player is Son, right at the bottom in 6% of teams. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Spurs start really strong again this season, and it is Leicester in Gameweek 1. 10 mil is a tricky price tag though, but he's a crazy differential under 10% owned right now. Let's smash through the forwards and then we'll go on to Captaincy and the Experts team. So Isak is the 10-play Experts forward with 88% ownership. Another one with a standout Gameweek 1 fixture, home to Southampton. If you caught the interview of last season's FPL World Champion, we touched on a remark made by Southampton's coach Russell Martin. He said there's going to be games when we play against amazing opposition and maybe look a bit different, but we won't go away to say Man City or Liverpool and set up to camp, we just won't do it. So this statement all but locked in Isak and Gordon for my Gameweek 1 team. They could be a team to target this season, Southampton, based on that remark anyway. So Haaland, 54% owned among the experts. Again, higher than the overall player base, but not as massive as Salah's ownership. How many experts have got both Salah and Haaland? 79% of those that have Haaland also have Salah. So Wood, at 10% owned, is someone I've got a high chance of owning Gameweek 1. Forrest have got amazing fixtures from Gameweek 1, and he's looking like first choice, only 6 mil. Let's move on to Captaincy, and here's how it's shaping up for Gameweek 1. So it's Salah top with 78% of the vote, Isak with 19%, a couple of managers are captaining Saka, and then it's Haaland and Gordon with just 1 each. FPL Reviews just opened its doors for the season, and here's the top Gameweek 1 projections currently. It's actually Saka top, followed by Bruno, Salah and Isak, who are neck and neck, and Haaland not far behind on 6.1 points. Very little between the top picks here for Gameweek 1. And by the way, over the opening 8 game weeks, Haaland's top in the league with 53.3 projected points, and Salah currently on exactly 40. So there's a noticeable gap between the two, but it's all about where that 2.5 mil goes. Rob T FPL's back with his really useful graphics. As far as the projected goals by the bookies, Haaland's on 27 for the season, and Salah's second with 18.8. Though that's purely goal scoring probabilities, and Salah's going to finish on loads of assists this season, more than Haaland you expect. Let's move on to the Experts team. If this video has been helpful so far, hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the final Gameweek 1 video. The Experts template team is built from the highest owned players across all their teams within the budget, and it's Sanchez in goal, Vardiol, Mikalenko and Burn in defence, Eze, Gordon, Palmer and Captain Salah in midfield, and then Isak, Watkins and João Pedro front 3. And on the bench it's Turner, Nkunku, Konsa and Harwood Bellis. This team's also got 1 mil in the bank surprisingly, which could be Sanchez to Raya, or João Pedro to Wood for example, as João Pedro is currently a question mark for Gameweek 1, he's not on the pre-season tour and home doing rehab. And here's the complete list of their most owned players across all positions, and I've added overall ownership for comparison, plus the final column being the difference between the two. The numbers with the biggest difference in green are the players that the overall player base are overlooking relative to the experts, and those are the big opportunities. Salah with a 57% difference, the biggest gap here. Watkins, Palmer and Foden, the surprising 3 names that the experts aren't as keen on relative to all players in the game. There's a lot of good info in there, so pause and rewind if you want to spend longer on the list. Let's move on to the experts' final thoughts and tips. Here's what they had to say. FPL Fran says 3-5-2 formation. Armstrong to rotate for the bad Havertz game, Gameweek 2. FPL Dan Cross says, no Haaland is the way I think I'll end up going. It allows a better balance, and I prefer to split my eggs at the start of the season with a couple of risks. It's too early to tell, but Nkunku looks like a steal. Guillaume on the other hand says, team structure is still very undecided, but I'm locked in on Haaland and Salah. Don't find any other premium assets, Foden, Saka, Palmer and Son, where I could invest the money worth it. FPL Tour's got a few bullet points. He's monitoring Sanchez and Nkunku's minutes in pre-season. He's hoping that a 4 mil keeper and a 4.5 mil forward option emerges. And he's also planning for an emergency Haaland draft when panic hits mid-August. Hinchdog Beast has got some thoughts on the rule changes, and he says he's determined to roll at least 3 transfers. The Doc FPL says FPL's pricing and rule changes has reignited my love for tinkering. The next one is my 18th season, and the past 3 to 5 seasons have felt relatively stale. We'll still have the template teams and players, whether it's Gameweek 1 or immersion later, but the opportunity to differentiate feels much bigger. A lot more information before Gameweek 1 to come as well, but for now, may the variance be with you. TomTom says, I was initially tempted by the no Haaland route, but I'm happy to start with him and see how the first 4 play out. Certainly the first few home games look prime captaincy, and if he scores against Chelsea, all of a sudden you're looking at 15.2 Haaland with his current low ownership and other managers taking hits to get him in. Marco says, it's good to be back, this is one of the best times of the year, optimism's at an all-time high and the possibilities are endless. With pre-season in full swing, it's a chance to find that newly promoted player or a hidden gem others are sleeping on. And remember, if you don't have a tinker, you'll have a stinker. And lastly, Benny M90 says, welcome back to the carnage everyone. Huge thanks to all the managers participating this season and thanks for watching, see you soon for the next one.